Jan?
Yeah.
Harvey?
What Gail?
Very nice, Jan.
There's a
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Was it Dean Martin that said, "What are all these people doing in my room?" Thank you all very much for coming to Loren's church. There'll be a few of you that understand why we're all here. Some of you are wondering, probably. As you know, I have decided, since my 70th birthday is coming up next summer, that I should take a full year to celebrate. Special things that I've never done before that I'd like to do. One of them is to surround myself with some of my closest friends, spend a couple of weeks on a beautiful cruise through New England and Canada. There's some other things I've never done that I thought maybe I'd like to do, and one of them is to give a sermon. Most of you have probably sat in church at one time or another and wanted to be someplace else, and were listening to the minister and thought, gee, if I could be up there, I could do a lot better job than he's doing. Well, after today, I'm never going to say that again. But thank you for coming. And today I would like to talk to you about something that's very important and special to me, and that's prayer. I'd like to talk a little bit about my experience with prayer, my lack of experience with prayer, how prayer has influenced my life. And then when I get through that, I'd like to talk a little bit about all of the other religions that we all know something about, and how all of us sometimes think that maybe our religions are different, but maybe I could make a suggestion that there are many cases that they're somewhat alike. And one of the things that we're alike is that most of us pray. So, and then after that's done, I'm going to ask all of us to say the Lord's Prayer together. Then we're going to have mimosas. Okay? My first experience with prayer comes when I was back a little kid in a little town called Ree Heights, South Dakota. If you take the map of South Dakota and take the eastern half of it, Ree Heights is right in the middle of the eastern half of South Dakota. A little town of 250 people. I was born there and raised there until I was 10 years old. Mom is the one that taught me how to pray. And my first prayer, our first prayer in our family was, "Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. If I should live for other days, I pray the Lord to guide my way." Now I saw some people, anybody else say that prayer sometime in their life? Turns out when Gail and I met, that was her prayer and that was our kids' first prayer. Well, it was a special time for me in Ree Heights, South Dakota. I was the oldest of 4 kids, and every night before bed, Mom would line us up by the bed. We'd get on our knees in our jammies and fold our hands, and we'd say, "Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep." It was a very special time, and I think the beginning and the foundation of my faith and of my religion, which is very important to me. Well, I'll have to say I had a little trepidation as a 5 or 6-year-old kid at that time. I wasn't sure what a soul was. But somehow I figured out that my shoes had souls. So I figured that this was a prayer about my shoes. "Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my shoes to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my shoes to take." And every night I would look down at my shoes, and Mother would have us line them up beside the bed. And I kind of decided that if I was a bad kid, that maybe God was going to take my shoes. Well, He didn't. Ree Heights is a little town where our main street was about a block and a half long. It was the only paved street in town. The rest of them were dirt and gravel. And it was a great place, and we had a little church right close to the center of town where we all went to Sunday services. A lot of the songs that are dear to me that I learned, and many of the songs that Jan played on the piano this morning, I learned in that church. I remember being outside one day playing, and then in our house, and like a lot of you, the telephone was on the wall. and there were two little bells up there, and then the talker part, and then the receiver looked like a gruff old man, remember? The eyes and the nose coming out, and only had one ear. Our ring was two longs and a short, but it didn't matter because it was a party line, and if anything rang, everybody got on the line to see what was talking about. Well, my mother is on the phone one morning talking to her good friend Burl Kelly, who lived on a farm about 6 miles north of town. And evidently Burl is giving Mom some special piece of gossip that she just learned. And just as I'm walking in the door, my mother says, "Well, bless my soul." And I thought, oh no, there God's going to take Mom. Well, I didn't. And somewhere along the line, I did discover the difference between S-O-U-L and S-O-L-E. But I can tell you that those days were very special to me, and I do think it's the foundation of the beginning of my faith and how I developed it and my love for my Lord. We moved from Heights, a little town of 250 people, in 1950. When I was 10, we moved to Rapid City, which is a town of 25,000 people. For four little, my dad affectionately referred to us as snot-nosed kids. That was a very unsettling experience to go from a little town like that to a great big town of 25,000 people. Right now, Rapid City is over 50,000 people, but still the second largest city in South Dakota. Mom, realizing that we would have a lot of timidity and trepidation, knew exactly what to do. When we got to Rapid City, she took us to church. And there we met friends and associates, and the church became a very important part of my life through my high school years in Rapid City. Very active in the youth organization, so proud to be the only teenager invited to sing in the senior choir. And even the times when the summer was on and the choir wasn't singing, I still went to church. It was very important to me, and I love my faith and I love my Lord. After high school, I journeyed all the way from the western part of South Dakota to the eastern southeast part of South Dakota to attend the University of South Dakota. Wonderful, wonderful school. I was so proud and pleased, and so was my mother, to discover that the fraternity that I was going to pledge was right across the street from the church that I attended. Big, beautiful red brick building with white columns, shiny altar, and pews inside. It was just beautiful. And here I was, a brand new freshman in college, living in the fraternity house in this beautiful church right across the street. I would be going to church because I lived right across the street from this beautiful red brick church with the white columns, and in 4 years of college, I made it twice. And of course, after college came the service, and most of my tour was spent in Germany. Why go to church in Germany? They speak German. I wouldn't understand it anyway. By that time, when I got out of service, came back to South Dakota, it was kind of out of sync. It wasn't quite into the church thing. Still had my faith, believed in it, was important to me, but it seemed like there were just more things to do on Saturday night than there were on Sunday morning, and I didn't make it to church very often. In my Aberdeen years, early years, I met Gail, and luckily for me, she's not taken a hiatus in her religious experience. She had just finished her nursing and anesthesia training, and we met and married, and I joined her church, and life got better. And as we had children, we made sure that they were involved in the church activities and youth activities at that church. Gail worked on